Hey everyone, it's Ryan with NCBPA. We are in Wilmington today at our second of a new series of events that we're doing called When Performance Meets Value. We're here in Wilmington with Above and Beyond Energy, one of our member rating companies, also Owens, Corning, and a couple of our other members and sponsors, just doing a field visit. So we've got 2 hours today to do basically a workshop of a walkthrough of a house that's pre-drywall in construction, going to be Energy Star, I believe. We'll see what the certification information is on that, and then also looking at a finished home as well. So we'll be doing performance blower door testing, duct blaster testing, a couple of other things, showing off how air sealing works, talking about code, talking about certification programs, talking about workforce development and some policy work as well. All very, very important things to our industry companies. So just wanted to thank Above and Beyond Energy, Owens Corning, and some of the other folks that will be out here with Abby, Curt, and I from the NCBPA team. We're going to get started here in just a little bit. Have lunch on the way, drinks. It's a hot day here in Wilmington, so we'll be thankful to get out of the pre-drywall house and get into the finished house and have some air conditioning for the second part. So we'll be providing photos and videos here in just a little bit on the website, and look forward to seeing some folks and answering questions. And if you're interested in doing this kind of an event, let us know. We'll be happy to do it with you in your area. Thanks a lot. Good.
Yeah. So there's two aspects, right? So anyone know why air moves?
Pressure difference in the hole.
High pressure, low pressure. Temperature, right? These are all things that add up, right? Pressure difference is due to temperature, and right? And where does hot go? Cold, always, right? So when you're dealing with something like this, a lot of the temperature on this gradient is the same temperature, so air doesn't move naturally horizontally. without an external force being pushed across it. Air moves up and down. So when we talk about air sealing, we're talking about how to control vertical movement. We take care of horizontal areas and vertical areas using wood, blocking, hand foam, whatever you want, because it's easy.
We kind of, you know, we saw the first quarter getting way worse on this stuff. I haven't really gotten back into it since they've been up and running for over a year. Yeah.
The other thing is you don't worry about what version. You just
Yeah.
click a button, change it, and go back.
Work in action here. We were just talking about this detail right here, this ceiling. Again, like, so when I was here with Alan Brock, you know, it looked a little different. But now that I see this detail, it's going to be just one more step of our process we're going to have to come back to do. So, Alan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the way I think they're going to do this is they're going to hang this sheetrock up to the higher point at the bottom of the ceiling truss. And then they're going to trim this out with wood. Is that right?
No, it's all sheetrock.
Oh, it is going to sheetrock for wrap? Okay.
Oh, but later on they'll be crown molded.
But you're going to sheetrock around this.
Yeah.
We'll use that on my job easier.
They seal it.
So that being the case, basically we're going to, it's the sheetrock mud and tape is going to kind of keep it all up above there. Because some of my builders don't sheetrock these beams, in which case we have to come back after they sheetrock it before they trim, and we have to foam all that good stuff. Those are some details, but like you would,
Once it's dry, you touch it, I mean, it seems like it shrinks back in.
Things like you, what's your name again?
Neil.
Neil, like Neil was saying, I think that's a good idea.
It's cool stuff.
So do you want me to explain what
Yeah.
okay. So on areas like this, so I was just explaining to them with different areas. When you have situations like this, like drop down chases, depending on the complexity, it actually may be easier than what most people put effort into it or think. So these are solid beams except for here. A lot of that air temperature is going to be in the same gradient, same air pressure, same everything. So air's going to look for the easiest way to escape, right? It's like a leak. When you find a leak, it's because it found the path of least resistance. So what I typically do on this, now especially knowing that they're going to sheetrock this whole thing, what I would just put one single bead at the very bottom around this whole perimeter. So when the sheetrock seals that, there's no way for that air to come in and try to find a way in through, you know, a crack over time or something else. And then this will all be taped and floated really, really well. And then same with like areas around the kitchen, and even some of the area in the office bedroom, just because of the complexity of that. That one's a little tougher. That one won't be as easy as like dealing with this.
But we've also seen some areas like back here, you know, we're just missing some knee wall sheathings up to that high knee wall. So we'll want to, that's why I got the tape and the paint and the marker, and I'll write up there for the, so these guys can find a place to shield, put some sheathing up there. The can lights, I guess, these are obviously airtight rated cans. They have gaskets, and Nick was saying that he likes these better. I guess you guys don't see these in this marketplace. Did I get your name wrong?
Yeah, Neil.
Neil. Nick.
Like Armstrong.
Neil. Okay. So you want to talk about those?
Yeah. So typical can lights are two parts. One is that housing that attaches to the frame, and the other one is the actual canister. And due to depth issues, they don't make a single size, so they allow that canister to slide up and down, right, to adjust to the surface of the gypsum. These have actually changed that orientation, which I love. They make the housing and the actual canister one piece. And if you look, the internal part with a sealed screw from the exterior, you unscrew and you can lower that piece. Literally just doing what you would need to, but actually having what we would consider an airtight can. Because even though they call them airtight, we've learned that that lip between the canister and the flange is not airtight at all. And the gasket typically is applied on the flange of the on the bottom part of the housing, the part that attaches to the frame. The gasket is in the correct location, and there's no way for air to really escape between those two areas because they don't exist.
Isn't it somewhere between 5 to 7 CFM per can?
5 to 15 CFM per can.
That makes a huge difference.
So, but right
In
now,
Texas?
8 climate zone 3.
Okay.
2, humid climate zone 2 and 3. So right now, we've got 2 houses that are censored in like Waco and Austin. And the reason why they ask for R13 is because they don't have enough data to say there's not enough condensation that's going to go around that dust. So we're censoring these houses to show that an R13 is overkill. An R8 with enough foaming around it should not have condensation around it. And so far, we've got about 6 months worth of data on one house and another 3 months of data on the other, and we're not seeing any condensation issues. Number 1, number 2 is the longest run, which is 20 feet, and you'll see 2 degree temperature drop.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, you're, appraisal hanging up.
We're going to be doing 2 dirty ducts in Raleigh. 2 houses and 30 ducts.
Yeah, you get there within the standard fiberglass block.
Yeah.
You gotta make sure you're there.
Well, we have to take a look. We're probably, I mean, it's 49 or 52. I mean, 80 people for 49. But that should vary. I mean, people always ask, check for more insulation. You're at, I wouldn't do anything over 49.
Yeah, that's not more gravity starts to take
Well,
over.
sir, you feel like-
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the only door that wasn't a ladder. That was, I didn't want to pick up the main entrance.
Yeah. So when we get started, we'll just do a video recording of kind of showing the full door and all that kind of stuff. So you understand it.
Magically happens, we show up and the house is finished, at least from our perspective. And so what we do is we kind of come in and do a final Hurd rating where we basically go through and get all the rated features of the home. And so our guys will come through and do everything from count light fixtures and you know, we treat them, you know, fixture, even if it's like if it's got 3 bulbs at the bathroom, then that's 1 fixture. And every now and then you'll see it where there's 2 bulbs with 1 and, you know, LED and 1 of incandescent, and then, you know, you just have to make your determination there. But we basically capture all the rated features. We use both pictures and data collection form as kind of a backup. We have those pictures to reference. We take like exterior elevations. We'll go through and get the model numbers from the appliances like the dishwasher and the refrigerator, and noting whether or not it's electric versus gas, and do these ovens do convection or induction and that sort of thing. So we're getting all those rated features, the thermostat, programmable, measuring the insulation depth in the attic, maybe verifying radiant barrier or not, roof sheathing, getting the model numbers from the air handler and the condensing unit so that we can verify the AHRI certificate and efficiency ratings. Let's see, and then we'll do a blower door test, which we're going to talk more about that in a minute with Sam. And then a duct leakage test. We do both total duct leakage tests and duct leakage to the outside. We're not really set up for that. We could get set up if you guys want to see that. I think everybody's probably seen that. We've already tested this house. So, and then, let's see.
So once you've got the final Hurd rating done, get the number. How does that show up here at the house? Like certificate label, things like that? Like how does that kind of get here so that someone can see it?
That's a great question, and I'm not sure I have a great answer for you. But I mean, yeah, so once we get done with our data collection though, kind of before that step is we basically, everything goes through Owen at our office, who kind of does the energy modeling. He cross-checks everything, makes sure that the energy model is accurate and right, and verify everything looks good, and then he, you know, will complete the HERS rating and do what's called a confirmed HERS rating. And then with those HERS rating reports, I guess we'll apply for a rebate, or submit the rebate to Duke, and then we will mail the reports that we produce on the home to the builder. And then at that point, it's really the builder's choice on what they want to do.
Selling energy efficiency without actually selling it. You're not really selling energy efficiency to a homeowner, you're selling a homeowner's needs and problems. So they don't understand ACH, they understand indoor air quality, less dusting, comfort, sound, all those things. Those are problems, and so I do a training with the salespeople too, and I teach them how to do active listening and ask a lot of questions. What do they love about their previous house? What they don't like about their previous house? And what is your everyday life, and what do you do? So that way, if you know how they live their life, and you know everything that you're putting in that home, you're not selling an energy efficiency feature, you're solving a problem. And the average home buyer is female, 35, and she's making the decision. And we all know that when you're selling houses, and they buy on emotion. So what you're doing is you're touching into an emotion, not an energy efficiency
Well,
feature.
I was thinking more like 5 years, 10 years
Yeah,
down the road,
it's about
resale, when they want to prove
That's
that
where
the measures were
that's where the
done.
finance comes in.
But there's no documentation is what I'm saying.
Right.
The homeowner has nothing to prove that the house had these features.
Well, we
And that's where
do.
there's kind of a gap.
We actually do post the energy efficiency code certificate in the panels, and I stick them, on there because the intention of that is it's not necessarily for the first home buyer, because the first home buyer should know all this stuff, but it's the second home buyer or the third home buyer who has no idea what the U value of the windows are or the air tightness of their house is or anything like that. But we post it in there with the idea that that's going to be there, long term for the home for future home buyers.
Cool, I'm Sam Myers. I'm with Retrotec. We make blower doors and duct testers. So we have our latest model of the blower door set up here. And the way this works, to most standards, you can pressurize or depressurize a house. So on this one, we have it set up to depressurize. And the way our system works, if you want to take a baseline, you can just have everything plugged up if you want to. Or you can put the shroud over it that also comes with it. But when we're going to run this test, this plate here is magnetic, so it just pops off. And so this is where I usually like to start if I'm not really sure if the house is really tight or leaky. It's just kind of a good midpoint to start. And so we have our DM32 gauge here hooked up. This puts out a Wi-Fi signal, so I'm actually communicating to this iPad, which just mirrors that same screen. And so I can control it from anywhere in the house. And so if you guys are unfamiliar with the gauge, I've got another one here I'll pass around. This clear one is one we just use for shows. You can see all the components inside where the sensors are, so it's kind of one of a kind. But if you get one from us, it's going to have that yellow backing on it. So we'll go ahead. I haven't done the preliminary checks for the house. I haven't checked if windows were shut or interior doors were open, but initially that's what you want to do. Make sure that all your penetrations are shut, that the system is off, the HVAC system is off. So we'll go ahead and just run a quick test on this to 50 Pascal just to demo it.
Did you put in a volume, or do you have a volume?
You can.
Yeah.
So I can go in.
I can give you one.
Yeah, so let me go into my settings. What do you got?
20,663 cubic feet.
That's for the entire living space?
Yeah.
Including the attic or not including?
Not including the attic.
What about area?
Oh, SFSA area?
Yeah, just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I got one. Just give me a sec. 6812.
6812?
Yeah, of not conditioned floor area.
Oh yeah, floor area.
Sorry, okay, 2296.
Okay.
It's a little smaller than that.
It's, if you add up all the walls, floors, and ceilings, it's 60.
There's an invisible door here.
Because we look at SFSA as a calculation for our energy code.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool, so I've entered that in. I can just do it off my device, or I could do it on the gauge itself. Both screens, and both, the way they work are both the same. So if I want to go in and set my pressure, I'll do 50 Pascal. Set. And it runs it by itself.
Does it baseline for you, or?
Yeah, you can do a baseline right off of this. I didn't do one just to save time. But yeah, you can go into this and do a baseline, or if you use our RCloud app, it'll automatically do a baseline for you once you hit start.
Okay.
So on this, I'm doing, before I set my settings, I did pressure to pressure. So I will go pressure to flow. And I'll look at ACH.
So if you fit light sockets on exterior walls, you can actually feel the air coming through the light socket.
Yeah. So I'm getting a little over 4.
Yeah. Now,
ACH
what's your
on
CFM?
Exterior.
1458, 1460. About what I'm getting. But yeah, like you
That's
said.
a .21 SFSA.
Okay.
So it's under. So the threshold for Hero is .24. So this house
Right.
is passing via the SFSA calculation.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah, like you were saying about the receptacles, any holes in the wall, you can do, you can check those leaks with the pressure pan. So you would take that same gauge, you could keep the fan running, pop it off, allow it to connect with another hose, and you can go around and do pressure diagnostics to see how bad those leaks are on each hole that you have. And so we're depressurizing to 50, so the closer that is to 50, it's going to be more outside than inside. So that's kind of how you gauge how bad those leaks are. And there's other things you can do as well. So for example, the nice thing about this remote app is that it allows you to...
That was me, sorry.
I was getting a little spooked there for a second.
Power draw that thing.
If you want to do smoke testing, this is a vaporizer. And so you can walk around, control the fan, ramp it up and down, and then see how it behaves with different holes in the house. So this is really handy for duct testing. So if you're up in an attic and your system is down below, you can run your fan in one hand and do your smoke in the other. Any questions about anything? This is like a really quick crash course.
One comment on the air change on this one that we had trouble is that these units were using T-ply for their sheathings on the second floor, and well, particularly across the street, but also they use that Brazilian channel in that whole common area. So it's scoring everything down. So it really made a lot of our air barriers not line up like we were thinking they were. We didn't really find out they were using the Brazilian channel until we started failing buildings.
But you're able to get it under that,
Yeah.
under Duke's program, so that's awesome.
Exactly.
Because you talk about that gap, not just on the reason.
Exactly. Yeah, this particular builder only does the RC channel on their entryways, kitchens, and like common areas that are all connected. And those are the areas that it's enough area to really.
We've got 2 more topics that we can go through the next 15 minutes or so. So 2 other things. One is code. One is valuation. So we've already kind of seen some of the benefits of the energy efficiency high performance house. We're having some debate about some of them, making sure that they get to the consumers for the right reasons, and we can certainly talk about that some more. But 2 things first. So one, we want to do a little bit of an update on code and just make sure that everybody's clear about kind of what's happening, what's changing. And then 2, we've got some of these resources here that I'll kind of talk through on the valuation side, which should be helpful for everybody. And I see that Scott's here as well. So Scott's our sales agent for the community. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yep. Thanks, Scott, for being here as well. So we'll talk about that a little bit. So I think first off, just a little bit of an intro on code. Our new code officially starts January 1st of next year. So we're moving up a tiny little bit. So it's kind of 2015 IECC backed off a little bit on the residential side. So more or less equivalent to 2012-ish. But the big victory that we got in partnership with the home builders and other folks was on the ERI, the Energy Rating Index, which is basically if you get a Hurd score and it's good enough, then you can pass for energy code. So there's more to it. So that new code is available for new homes permitted July 1st or after. So you can start using it July 1st if you want to. What I've got in my hands right now is kind of the fundamental foundation of how ERI is actually going to work. So what does the rater do? What does the code official do? What does the builder do? Things like that. We're working on that. So a little bit to talk about there. So I'll turn it over to Curt. Just kind of overview on what's changing, maybe what's not, what to get prepared for, that kind of thing.
Not a whole lot of changes like Mark or Ryan said. Biggest change for zone 3 is ceiling going to R38 and walls going to R15. That's the biggest change. ERI is a significant change as far as an option goes. The current fenestration installation tables are the backstop for that, so you have to do as a minimum, and then you can do trade-offs beyond that for the ERI score. So you can trade off system efficiencies. You know, now you don't get credit if you go with 15 or an 18 SEER unit. With ERI, you will get credit. So there's
So, sorry, just to clarify.
Yep.
But I didn't realize, I thought that they had pulled the 15 and the 38 out of this climate zone.
Oh.
But they put it back in?
HBA introduced an amendment to roll back to current standards. It got approved, went to the Rules Committee. Rules Committee found some technical issues with the way it was submitted and asked for, I believe, data that the HBA is not willing to go and get to resubmit. It's on table. It's been tabled for now.
So then, just to clarify a little, one step further, you're saying that if we do, let's say that a builder wants to be, you know, to use the ERI and still use R13 in their walls, they could do that? That would be the backside?
No. Well, yes, that'll be, yeah,
So
2012
that
is
would
the
be a trade-off that they
Yes.
could use the ERI for. They could, instead of
Correct.
using 15, we're gonna do 13 with the Hurd
Yeah.
rating if that ERI demonstrates
Yeah.
compliance.
So
Okay.
zone 4 and zone 5, there won't be much of an incentive change. But for here, you'll have that option of staying
Because you can't,
R13 or R30.
because R10 slab is in the current code,
Yep.
that's already in the backstop, it's not like they can trade that off.
Correct.
All right, so dumb layman's question, what does a backstop actually mean, just so that we can be clear?
It's
about
just
that.
a mandatory requirement you gotta meet as a minimum prescriptive before you can use the ERI for trade-offs. So that's saying, instead of putting a geothermal system in, getting my ERI number, and then not putting any insulation in the house, they want to avoid that type of situation where you're just putting a bunch of efficient systems in, but the house is uninsulated or under-insulated or not duct sealed. So you have to do the minimum requirements, which is current code, and then you can do trade-offs beyond that. Unfortunately, RESCheck is going away. So, well, not going away completely. You can use 2015 if you want, but there's not going to be any incentive to do that. IECC 2015 is beyond what our code is.
Could North Carolina fund or
They
provide
could.
funding to get?
DOI has pretty much said they will not do it, or they don't have the money, is what they've said. I guess there could be a lobby to say we need to fund this.
It doesn't sound like anybody's all that concerned about it, which is a little surprising, maybe it just hasn't got out there
I don't think the
enough.
foam industry understands that that's.
Yeah, that's a big impact.
And it's the
That
same
excluded
with
the cost
mulch.
performance option. What we would like to do is, RESCheck is basically a scaled down version of REMRE or Ecotrope.
Yep.
Can we do trade-offs within the ERI? So NCBPA is working on saying, can we introduce some, you know, that backstop's there, but can we do UA trade-offs within that backstop table, doing the ERI process to accomplish the same thing? Right now, the way it's written, no.
As a
So.
spray foam installer, like that raises I literally use the RESCheck
Correct.
to get my numbers more competitive and still passing code based on your SHGCs, your U factors on windows, doors, still across everything.
Yeah.
Going away.
Well, it sounds like that. Now, so how can I keep my numbers?
There's a cost performance option where you, now,
You can't, you're gonna have to install a roof deck to R30 minimum.
or get an engineer to sign off.
Seeing our zone
If you go to
four.
cost performance, you get an engineer to sign off saying that that's adequate.
Okay, well, without an engineer
Yeah.
though, and in climate zone 4, which sounds like that's where you are,
R38.
you're gonna have to be at I mean, so that's like,
But I can get down to
12
R30
inches.
all day long with the RESCheck pulling its SHGC.
right, and a lot of the foam contractors around here for years have been put in R20,
Yeah,
and that's not gonna be allowed.
no. So NCBPA will be introducing something to allow some trade-offs. So that's where if you see something come out from Ryan, we're gonna need support.
From the policy office.
You know, we're gonna need people voicing that this is a problem loud enough that they listen and introduce an amendment.
So basically, I used to literally put the RESCheck in the permit box, showing that everything passes. Inspectors always would accept that.
Yeah.
When will that go away? When is
January
that?
1st.
That is January 1st.
Yep.
And there's gonna have to be a lot of education between now and then. We're really already far behind schedule on helping code officials understand what ERI is, and then people knowing that RESCheck is going away. We're way behind schedule,
That's the first time.
as in everybody here. So we're gonna be spending quite a bit of time in the fall to do code workshops, residential and commercial, to go out and educate. Those emails that go out saying RESCheck isn't available, ERI is available, things like that, that's gonna get people's attention. We're all gonna start asking questions. it's going to be a little weird for a while, right? We all know that, so we just need to be able to prepare for that. But Curt's right. We've got 3 months because the last quarterly code council meeting was just this past Tuesday. Nothing really happened for us, which is great. So the next meeting's in 3 months. And so if we want to introduce any code changes, we have to get all of our ducks lined up, get all of our paperwork together, all of analysis together. We submit it. They basically accept the submittal. And then we wait another 3 months until we sort of argue our case. Other people argue for or against it. And then we find out either there or 3 months later if it's actually part of code, which could get it in January 1st if we did everything well, or 3 months after that.
It's a minimum 9-month process.
That. So not January 1st, right afterward. There's 2
Now,
months.
one thing for Zone 3 I haven't looked at, now, using IECC 2015 as your backstop for RESCheck, it might work here for Zone 3 because your requirements aren't as strict as Zone 4, Zone 5. I'm sure it would be, tough. But down here, it might.
Still 15 and 38, isn't it?
I believe, I can't remember, but for sure, but I think it is. So you still might be able to get your UA and RESCheck to work for doing less than R38. So
Right.
I don't think it is, because in Texas it's the same way.
okay.
It's R38.
Well, I think it's interesting though, in many other states, they, adopt ERI, or across the board, like a straight adoption of the 2015 ISPC, then that doesn't have a backstop. They're putting their trust in the ERI.
Yes.
And you have essentially purists in North Carolina that don't trust the ERI and they are not willing to trust the trade-off process, and they want a prescriptive element. So it kind of guts the ERI to some degree, and it makes it less effective because you could, I think there's a lot of builders that would upgrade things to avoid, say, slab insulation. They just hate slab insulation and they don't want to do it, and they would rather overbuild the envelope in other areas. But that option isn't available, and it would be in a true ERI adoption, but
That's
it's not.
going to be a big impact in Zone 4.
Right.
Because
It would be
a
a
lot of
big
guys are
overload.
opting out of slab edge now, and they will not have that option
Right.
once RESCheck goes away.
So these kinds of items are things that we at NCBPA, with support from our members and our partners, need to be working on to make sure that we're setting things up correctly. So Neil and Cody are here with us visiting from Texas, and yesterday we were in the field down in Holly Springs looking at slab edge insulation, and these guys are going to be working on some solutions for us to do it better than what we're doing right now. And so that's something that we could be working with the Home Builders Association on to address that the right way. So whatever those code issues are, if it's the UA trade-off, if it's, we're in the start of a 6-year code cycle now, let's maybe try to make a pivot 3 years in and see what we can do to make things a little bit better. We can make small incremental changes, which we're of course planning to do as we go along, but midway through a 6-year cycle, let's try to make some changes, and then going forward, next code starts 2024. It's a long time from now. So we've got quite a bit of work to do to educate builders, code officials, make sure that everybody's ready for 2019. We'll have some stumbling blocks, of course, have to deal with some things. We'll be ready to accept that.
Well, there are a couple more changes. Duct leakage, total duct leakage, is dropping from 6% to 5%. Leakage outside, 4%. I think that's remained the same.
Wait, leakage outside is 6% currently. So you're saying it goes.
Well, it's going to go to 4. They're going to adopt what?
They are? Wow.
Yeah. At least that's the last language I saw. Now, the last language that's publicly available is from the December 2016 meeting. So.
Well, because then Duke's going to have to get ahead of that, right? Because they've got to be above code.
Yeah.
So they're going to maybe go to 3?
Maybe. We haven't heard that discussion. House wrap seams will have to be taped, minus the bottom for drainage. That's, from a cost standpoint, minimal impact, but from a home performance standpoint, can have a big impact depending how that's installed.
And that was the trade-off discussion that was between, do we require whole house testing, HERS ratings are basically required, or do we tape all the seams on the outside and make sure that there's a fully sealed envelope, right? And that was more or less the trade-off. And so the folks that were negotiating this at the building code went with fully sealed exterior envelope versus required HERS testing. So, we would have loved to have seen both, obviously, but required HERS ratings, now that we have the ERI going in, maybe 3 years in, we could make that transition and say, look, we've already got 33% of new homes being HERS rated. let's just step up to that next level.
And the last major thing, which shouldn't have an impact but will, load calculations still have to be done, but they no longer have to be turned into the code inspector.
Not like they were ever being turned in anyway.
Well, they were, and there was pushback because they were turning them in at CO and couldn't get, when there was questions, they couldn't get a certificate of occupancy when they should have been turning in design
But, I mean, around here. no-
criteria in the beginning, and then it would have taken care of itself. So instead of making them turn it in, before the permit's issued, they did it at the CO time, was holding up closings, and HBA argued that it was the problem, and it was. So they just said, well, don't have to turn it in anymore.
State of Florida, for reference, requires it at permit.
That permit, that's when it should
And
be
that's
started.
like genius. That makes
Yeah.
a lot of sense. Turning your.
We actually design it.
home. Yeah.
Using load calculation.
Put the design, in the design phase.
So that's on our list as well. And the other thing that I mentioned before is with the ERI. So policies and procedures of you guys do a HERS rating, code official comes out, what's that handoff? How does that actually happen? What if the code official has questions? Who do they go to? All those things. So we're working on that. We got a great email back this morning from DOI with kind of the first review of what we provided to them on Tuesday. So we are actively working on this. We'll be sending this out to our membership here probably early next week for just kind of a courtesy review and make sure everybody's seen it and kind of has a chance to look at it, give us some additional feedback before, ideally this is available, July 2nd, that Monday. That's pretty quick. It's not going to happen overnight, obviously, but we can at least start putting it out there.
And outside of energy, do you guys ever talk about the health benefits to buyers to high-performance homes?
We really haven't done a whole lot kind of in that realm of things.
Right.
I mean, we do occasionally talk about like low VOC kind of paint and that sort of thing.
What we're seeing nationally is that there's a big push to that now. There's a lot of interest in it, mainly in this part of the country because of moisture. And especially if you have small children with asthma, having a high-performance home can make a world of difference compared to just a traditional code-built home.
Sure.
So, something else to think about.
So let's get back to the valuation side. So Scott, you said your biggest issue might be getting the bank to basically approve some of those upgrades. There's upfront cost, long-term benefit. We know that, but what's the math, right? So I'll be happy to turn it over to you. We've got a little bit of paperwork here. We've got copies for folks here. So this first one's from NHB, National Association of Home Builders, the Appraisal Institute, and Building Codes Assistant Project. It basically says appraised value and energy efficiency, getting it right. What can builders do? So there's 4 steps. There's more information here, but complete and provide buyers with the green energy efficiency addendum. That's the thing that basically lists all of those features. So you can provide that to the buyers and also to the lender. You can provide a copy of the HERS report. So Mark's got the HERS report, get the certification, give that to them as well. Prepare the buyer, or if you guys are working directly with the lender, let them know this is an energy efficient home. There's going to be less operating costs, therefore there should be some incentive to them. And then make sure that those things are advertised. So Scott, you can have this copy here. You've got copies
Mark,
for
do you
other
know if
folks
the
as
green
well.
addendum's getting filled out for these houses and for most? See, that's where the disconnect is, because there's no comps. A lot of builders aren't doing it, there's no immediate gain from it. But if you don't put the green addendum out there, there's nothing to comp against.
Sure.
So
that
if
would
you're
be
looking
a
down the road,
rate we could just fill out.
you gotta start having it filled out
Okay.
for future growth. Because when they go to compare, they're gonna have trouble finding a house to compare features.
Does this pre-populate out of room rate?
No.
No.
So the addendum's there. You've got the HERS certificate as well. On the back of that, getting it right on the appraisal form, there's a letter that you can send to the lender. And this can come from the builder, it can come from the homeowner, it can come from the realtor to say, hey lender, this is a high performance home, etc., etc., etc. And then they should at least give some consideration to that. Now if it's some huge national lender and they're just processing, files and paperwork electronically and all that kind of a thing, you're not talking to a human being, it might be a little more challenging obviously. But if you're working with somebody and actually having that conversation with them, there's a better opportunity there.
But in North Carolina, if it's in the MLS as a feature, they have to consider it. They don't have to value it or give it value, but they do have to consider it by law. They can't ignore it.
And so the last thing that I've got more paperwork, this is the final couple of pages of what was our North Carolina energy efficient home and building inventory report as we call it, but this is best practices for home builders to impact green MLS efforts. So I'm going to give my new friend Scott one more. This is just 3 pages of information that summarizes all of that we've kind of talked about today. So the HERS certificate, the addendum, communicating to the lender, making sure that you're advertising things correctly, all of that. That's what this lists. And so the more that builders and HERS raters and other folks in this local market start using this information, just like Curt said, the key to it is really getting the comps out there. So if we're listing these features, all that information in the MLS on this home, in the MLS on the next home, in the MLS on the next one, everybody's going to start seeing those more often, and you're going to start building that comp market. That's what's going to help with the increased appraisal price, increased sale price as well, and then that should provide more credit on the lending side as well. But all those things have to happen, from kind of all of us working in this market. We've already made an attempt and got very close at having the local MLS really commit to all of the steps that we have listed here in a separate document that's for the MLS specifically. We were really close to getting them to do that. It didn't work out. So we need to try again and see if we can get those added fields into the MLS, but we can do so electronically so that basically every HERS rating that Mark or any of the other HERS raters across the state would do, they would automatically send that information into the MLS so that Scott, when you're listing a home on the MLS, you don't have to type in, hey Mark, give me the certificate, hey Mark, give me this, hey Mark, give me this. It's already there for you. As soon as you do your MLS listing and hit save, it pulls that data from a national database and then it puts it in there automatically. Wouldn't that be nice?
That would be awesome.
So that would fill out all the comp data for us, basically the entire market. We've got all that data. But local folks didn't want to do that quite yet, so we need to try again. So lots more to say about that. For folks that are interested, we've got copies of these forms here. This full report is on the NCBPA website. It's 60-something pages. It's pretty thick, but at the end of it are the best practices for home builders and then for MLS directories as well. And there's lots more information in that with kind of the big picture, big bullet point being 9.5% premium for higher sale prices for high performance homes versus all other home sales. Now that was in the Charlotte market, the Greensboro market, and the Raleigh market. So we didn't have that data for this market. We can't say that. But in Raleigh, for example, it was a 22% premium. So high performance homes in Raleigh are selling for 22% more than code built homes on average. For a 2-year study, 4,000 homes. That's pretty good numbers. So that's the kind of information that we've gotten here for folks that want to take a look at it. I'll be happy to answer any other questions about the valuation side.
I guess the other thing we're working with HBA to come up with a program to educate appraisers so they can start knowing what they're talking about. Look at the houses.
The appraisers have to have a certain certification to do this.
There's 2 appraisers in the entire state right now that have the green appraiser certification. It's a 5-day training, costs about $1,500, 2 days of renewables, 2 days of efficiency, 1 day of appraisal theory. We want that to be about a day and a half. And if some folks start working on this with us, we'll be able to make some progress on that. But this is a national issue that we're hoping to fix in North Carolina first and then be able to share with some other folks.
I mean, essentially, just for the layman, it's going to provide, like, the granite countertops gives them an extra $1,000 of value or whatever it is. And then, but this will put a number, a dollar figure on the energy efficiency features of the home.
And it would include renewables as well, to solve that problem of you come out and how much is that solar panel worth? Or we've got an encapsulated crawl space or a closed attic, what is that actually worth? And so you don't need 2 days of training on building science, 2 days of training on renewables to just say, okay, that's a $20,000 solar PV system and it's brand new. How much do I give for an appraised value for that? Maybe it's $20,000, right? So we just want to make sure that that education is available and that certification is available, because right now, what we've been doing for years in North Carolina, there's 2 green certified appraisers. It's a major problem. We need to fix that.
You do not need a certified green appraiser to do it. You just need somebody who's knowledgeable. So if you ask the right questions and get the right answers, they're probably competent to do it. And we know there's been a bunch of them trained. There's no certificate from it. They've been trained up in Boone.
Right.
Riverhead does produce a report that gives you a dollar figure.
Yeah.
So, but I just.
I don't think it means anything.
Exactly. I never knew what to do with it. So I never did anything with it.
But if you probe, builders or HERS raters probe appraisers, because you even request a new appraiser that you think they're incompetent, and if they don't know what you're talking about with a high performance home, they're incompetent. Ask for another appraiser. Ask the right questions.
Because the bank issue is the appraiser.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you can request a new one.
Yeah.
You
Just
know,
request
they don't
a new
understand what a 22 SEER system is,
Fire it.
fire them, get another one.
You're allowed to do that. All right, well, Curt and I and Abby will stick around and answer some more questions if folks have it. We're 5 minutes after, so sorry, bad timing on our part, but I think it's been a good event. So, first off, Mark, thank you for hosting us, for getting the house and everything else. And then we'll say Scott and Alan, I suppose he's probably outside building something, so
Yep.
thanks to you guys as well for hosting us today.
Certainly.
Appreciate y'all being here. Our guys from Owens Corning that came in from Texas, Neil and Cody, thank you guys as well, and Sam for your demonstration also. Everybody else that came out, thanks guys so much for being here. We'll be putting all this up on the web and talking about what we did here, and hopefully encourage some other folks to participate and push the things forward on the green and energy efficiency and high performance side. So thanks everybody. Grab some more drinks if you want on the way out, and we'll stick around and answer some more questions. So thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thanks to you guys.
Thanks for having you.
Yeah.